Since Prince Harry made that public statement that mind-altering psychedelic drugs are so important to his lifestyle, his autobiography Spare really needs to be reclassified under the fiction fantasy book genre. Prince Harry made a few allegations against his older brother in that book. He talked about an incident when his brother supposedly assaulted him, pushing him to the floor during some fight, and that he landed on top of the dog bowl, which caused it to break, and he cut himself. But there was no specific wound injury mentioned. There was no photo evidence given, and later on, he said he required medical attention, but he didn't mention that he needed stitches. Actually, I was a little bit surprised to hear that the dog bowl was made of porcelain, because most dog owners know enough to use stainless steel because porcelain can be a little bit dangerous and you want to make sure there are no sharp edges. They are very sturdy, and I mean, you would have to run over one with a Mack truck, I think, to flatten it out. Now, Tom Bower says the dog bowls supplied by the Palace Estate are made from metal. This story is so full of holes and loose ends that I don't see any reason whatsoever to believe any of Harry's subjective memories, and I'm pretty surprised that these dubious revelations, with no supporting evidence whatsoever, managed to slip through the publisher's accountability evaluation standards. Or maybe it's that Penguin Random House simply doesn't have any standards when they're making money. After admitting to using these strong, mind-altering drugs since he was a teenager, how can Harry convince anybody that his description of the supposed incident is actually factual? And since this incident supposedly happened after Meghan moved into Knockcott, I do not believe the impeccably mannered Prince William would show up unannounced at his brother's house to rough him up. I suspect, though, that Harry might have called him maybe while he was under the influence, and he upset William. Who knows what he said? And this is just speculation on my part, but perhaps William dropped in to warn Harry, and during their heated discussion, he told him a few difficult truths about the ex-yacht girl, and maybe that made Harry upset. Perhaps it was Harry who attacked first. I mean, maybe William just pushed Harry back in self-defense. That would make sense to me. And in Harry's state of inebriation, he might have stumbled off kilter, and he himself might have fallen over the dog bowl, spilling water and then maybe slipping on the tiles and landing on his back. Maybe Harry got a little bruised when he fell down, and I think his pride was bruised too, which of course comes before a fall. If Harry really had some kind of deep contusion that required professional attention, then why didn't he notice any torn clothing and bloodstains on his shirt while he was getting undressed? It takes quite a sharp object to puncture fabric when a body lands flat on the floor. Does Harry scrub his back in the shower? I mean, either way, there would probably have been blood on the shower floor, and it definitely would have stained his towel. Harry claimed that he didn't know about the injury until Meghan got home and noticed a deep wound on his back after he showered. Now, bruising is going to come out in a hot shower, and typically it takes a few hours for pain and swelling to happen. Maybe the real reason that Harry went to the doctor the next day was thanks to the pain. When injuries are the result of an assault, doctors take photographs of the wounds for their records, along with a patient's statement. And the doctor might also be required to report it to legal authorities, with or without the consent of the patient, depending on the situation and how bad the injuries were. Now, if such a serious accusation of assault by William were ever taken out by Harry, his doctor would need to produce medical evidence and a dated report sworn under oath. Since Harry married Meghan, there is no action that they have done that even surprises me. And if this assault really were true, I am sure that Meghan would have saved dated photo evidence of the statement for legal testimony. She thinks like that. And the jury would also require some proof, either a photo or qualification of the assault. And Harry and Meghan do have a pretty long track record as proven liars. Their memories are not very good, so their verbal statements could never be upheld as reliable evidence in a court of law. Since he got with Meghan, it seems like Harry has just lost all sense of pride in himself, and his public popularity has fallen. I mean, it's now at such a depth that I don't think he'll ever come back from it. Harry has to rely now on just a few desperate minority groups and specific money-hungry media types like The Cut and People Magazine and Netflix, and traditional publishers too, to keep him and Meghan relevant. His only peers in a class action are washed-up celebrities like Elton John and Liz Hurley, famous for basically doing nothing and having lots of affairs. Their lies are just so obvious, especially to somebody like us who would know the true course of events. Many people are now picking apart these stories. Meghan's alleged win over her sister Samantha is a point in question. Meghan has definitely fed her PR people a distortion of the truth. Meghan and Harry truly are their own worst enemies. It seems like they cannot help themselves. They just can't keep their lies simple. They make things way too complicated, and then they can't keep up with it. See, they're always compelled to embroider their lies with unnecessary details that later on they don't remember, and that's what messes them up. I mean, they're pretty stupid because they simply cannot learn from their mistakes. That whole cloth memory about the Queen Mother's death, well, it was publicly and provably false. Like people don't have memories of their own and photographic published evidence. One commenter weighed in, saying, I have listened to the audible reading of Harry's book Spare. He is telling his story. There are many parts of the book I found shocking and some were just silly, and I wondered why he ever would include that story. I listened to the telling of the meeting with Prince William and the subsequent breaking of the dog bowl. I agree with the author here. Most folks do have a stainless steel dog bowl for their dog. However, my dog has 2 water bowls, a stainless steel one kept in the kitchen, and a pretty yellow ceramic one that she has had since puppyhood, kept by the front door. I am sure it would break if stepped on or thrown. Before anyone says anything, I was sad to hear Harry tell this story of the confrontation with William, but if true, good on William for coming to his staffer's defense. Siblings argue and disagree and do not speak sometimes for days, weeks, and years, but not everyone makes their story so public. I will say, listening to Harry tell his story does not make me have any more sympathy for him than if I would have read the book. I tried to listen impartially, but most of the time was thinking, oh, Harry, really? And honestly, who cares if a couple of brothers got so heated at one another? This does happen between brothers pretty often. Who cares about Harry's drug abuse, his sex life, or any other private events in his life? Who cares if he is a ginger who married an attractive, entitled woman? I mean, oh my goodness, his life stories are just so ludicrous. Seriously, who cares? At one point in time, Harry was considered outgoing and popular and even good-looking. And now any mystery about this man is over. His life details are incredibly dull and honestly disappointing. Did nobody care enough about him to warn him that this was going to happen? Harry has turned out to be such a little sissy, hasn't he? It's a great thing that he doesn't have any sisters, because I think they would have beaten his bottom. Big deal, he got pushed down, and he was so weak that he fell to the floor. Alright, well, boys fight, and men fight too. Girls fight, women fight, everybody fights. Harry, it's time to grow up. You're just making yourself look like an idiot yet again for telling the story and trying to make a big deal out of nothing. He is so pathetic. What do you think about Harry's unwarranted accusations against William? Let us know your thoughts below in the comments section. We hope you have found this video helpful. Don't forget to leave us a like, share, and subscribe to the channel if you enjoy it. Thank you so much for watching, and we'll be back to see you in the next videos. Bye bye now.